we're back on Campaign the Grad, episode 3.
Welcome back, everybody.
Another wonderful week, and this time got my grades back for law school, so that means I have moved on to the final semester.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Countdown is
6 more credit hours needed, and I'll be all done. And I'll get my JD.
That's awesome. So not only are we going through a campaign, but you are in school.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Not recommended. But you also were busy attending a lot of events.
Yeah, we continue to do that. We went to Edinburgh. We went to the Omar Ochoa event for a little bit. It was very extravagant.
It was
a lot
amazing.
of excitement. We'd like to have an event like that ourselves someday, but not right now.
No, absolutely wonderful job to him and his team.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
After that, we went to Mission. We met Terry Verts, who is a U.S. Senate candidate here in Texas. That was organized by the Hidalgo Young Dems. Yeah, it was just fun. For me, that's the most fun part, really, meeting the actual people that we are going to represent and the other people who are fighting the same fight.
Right. And hearing those concerns and you giving them proposed solutions. I think they enjoy that too.
Yeah. So it makes all the other stuff that's not fun worth it.
Yes. So this week we wanted to recap on our last week's episode, which focused in on economy.
Yeah, so this economy really doesn't have a lot of diversity in terms of the variety of careers, the job options, and we really do have the talent to be able to foster a way more diverse economy, a lot more engineering firms, hedge funds, big corporations, things like that. I know my team here met with an engineer recently.
Right.
To try to figure out why we're not really fostering a huge engineering industry here.
Right.
So we're even working on that now in terms of trying to figure out what we can do to improve this district and the diversity of the economy.
And I think that's the focus of your campaign is not only are you preparing for a campaign and trying to win this seat, but you're also trying to make relationships so that when you get in day one, there are solutions in mind. Right.
Make the relationships and also coming up with the ideas so that we can hit the ground running on day one to improve the district.
Awesome. Tariffs.
Yeah, so we need to push back on the tariffs. That's another issue. The tariffs right now are nonsensical. There's not any precision. So we need to be a lot more surgical, a lot more precise, a lot more strategic with tariffs. Otherwise, all it really does is harm us. It's really more of a tax on people rather than a income source, as Trump claims.
And then the living wage?
So living wage is super important. We need to actually pay people what they deserve. If they work hard, they shouldn't be working for $7 an hour or $7.25 an hour. They should work hard and get paid what they deserve. And it'll take time to really get there, but we should gradually increase the amount to a living wage so that people can afford to buy a house, buy a car, pay for their health care, and maybe they won't need Medicaid or SNAP benefits.
And I think the more and more we dive into this issue, your biggest word that you've always been using is the interconnectedness.
Yeah, I think we really need to focus on that because I think as we become increasingly isolated with our current society, like we start to forget about how everything's connected and how everyone is connected. We always have to be sensitive about how the other things impact the economy, like healthcare cuts will impact the economy, how education cuts will impact the economy too.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and begin today's episode, which I love this part because one of your biggest issues is education as a former educator. And all my colleagues out there are excited about this.
Yeah.
Tell us first, like, your story.
Yeah. So as I touched upon before, education is very important to me because I feel like that's really what gave me the opportunity to succeed. Just reading a lot of books, studying, working hard, got me into college, got me into med school, got me into law school. And all of that has made me the person I am today, and it's given me a lot of opportunity. And when I finish my degree in law, I'll have even more opportunity available to me. Well, and I'm concerned with what's going on now and talking to you and talking to other former teachers that the education that kids are getting now is not as good as it used to be. So I'm really worried about my 11-year-old daughter and her reading skills, her writing skills, her critical thinking skills, because I don't think the schools are really fostering that as well as they did before. So I really worry about how she's going to be prepared. And I also worry about other families because for me, like, it's a lot easier. I have a very in-demand career. I can come up with a lot of flexibility so I can help her with her work, help her with her reading, edit her essays, things like that. But a lot of people don't have that. You know, they're working these very hard jobs. They don't have the time, the energy to do the things that I'm able to do. So I worry about other kids more than my kid, really.
Right. And you were talking about that those former teachers were letting you know that it's not as good as it used to be.
Right.
But not because of a teacher's performance.
Right.
You want to go ahead and...
Yeah, it's not obviously because the teachers are doing something wrong. It's because ever since George W. Bush implemented the No Child Left Behind, basically they have been forced to teach to a test because testing has been tied to funding, to accountability. And so that has created a problem where teachers are not able to have the freedom to innovate and create curriculums where they can foster the reading, the writing, the critical thinking skills. That's something that needs to be fixed in some way.
Right. And then a big thing that's going on right now is the cutting of educational resources.
Right. Yeah. So the Trump administration is going hard after cuts all across the board. So what we really hear is, oh, it's all about Harvard or it's all about Columbia. But really, it's not just about those schools. It's also hitting community colleges. It's also hitting trade schools. And while this is happening, Monica de la Cruz is doing nothing to stop those cuts.
And when you were going through your educational process, which was medical school, emergency medicine residency, law school, even now, right? You're still going. What were your thoughts?
I was really surprised when I got to medical school and residency because I felt like, I knew a lot of people who could have done this. I didn't feel it was that hard. I had something in mind, like being from the Valley, I felt like, oh my God, it's going to be the hardest thing ever. It's just going to be so many geniuses and I'm going to have trouble. But I got there and I felt like, no, it's more of an issue of we don't have kids that are prepared and confident enough. And I literally thought of people's names, of people in my class, like, oh, this person could have done it. This person could have done it. This person could have done it. I just learned a lot and it really changed my perspective.
So it's accessibility.
Accessibility, preparation, resources.
It's unfortunate because, you do get there and you realize that there are plenty of people down here who are capable.
Right.
But we just don't have the ability to get them more there.
Right. And so that's the problem I have with the Trump administration and the fact that Monica de la Cruz doesn't push back on this. Because the focus on scores is the wrong focus. When you get there, you still have to perform. You're not going to get an easier path. You still have to pass the same tests. And a lot of times, honestly, you perform really well. It's just that you didn't have the opportunity before. And once you get there, you just step up your game.
So recently, the Trump administration has a lawsuit to go against the grants for Hispanic serving institutions.
Yeah, so specifically, there was a lawsuit that came out of Tennessee, basically arguing that it was unconstitutional to help these Hispanic serving institutions. And the Trump administration has agreed with that. And so what a Hispanic serving institution is a school that has at least 25% enrollment of Hispanics. And so to help those schools, they give them money. One thing that's very interesting about that is UTRGV. It's actually the second largest Hispanic serving institution in the country and the largest in Texas. I believe about 90% of the population, of the student population, is Hispanic at UTRGV.
And you're alumni.
Yes.
Of UTRGV. Why did you decide to go there?
Yeah, so that was super interesting because I actually had a pretty good transcript. I had a 32 on the ACT, which I achieved with just checking out a book from the library and my strong reading foundation. And I was 8th in my class. And I could have gone to UT Austin. I probably could have gone to Yale or some other, big name school. But honestly, I had kind of lost my confidence. Some things had happened. Things were a little rough during high school at some point. And I just felt that I wasn't necessarily prepared, and I was really scared. I was scared that I wasn't going to be ready for UT Austin or Yale or big name school, and then I would possibly fail in terms of getting into med school and helping my family. So it was like a comfort thing, and that's what I decided to do. And it was also affordable. I could be near my family, and so that's why I went to UT Pan American, now UTRGV.
Awesome. I know they're proud of you. Going back to the education and teaching to the test, there's federal accountability for this policy, and they want to, quote unquote, give it back to the state. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's hit or miss. Anytime you push it back to the states, they could do something good with it or they could do something bad with it. So maybe they create an awesome system and they let the teachers have the freedom to innovate and create these awesome curriculums, or maybe they actually have no accountability and the education is poor. So that's the problem. I think we should have accountability, but it shouldn't be focused on testing. Something that's really interesting is that there are rankings out there. Specifically, Wallet Hub has ranked Texas public education, K through 12, 32nd in the country, which is not great. Somehow, though, they ranked our higher education at 6th. So that's an interesting disparity. So does that mean that our students aren't fully prepared for the high level of higher education that we have? I'm not sure what that means, but that is very interesting, that we do have a lot of money in the state, but yet somehow our K through 12 education is only 32nd, at least in the Wallet Hub ratings.
And what are some policies that you intend to fight on?
So I think the merit-based thing is very much an issue I need to fight because, like I talked about before, that doesn't make any sense. What they really mean by that is scores. And I have so much experience with this, going through college, going through med school, 6 hours away from completing law school. Scores really are not the best measure, especially for students that come from a low resource area. I have met so many people down here that have told me things about their scores, and I have literally been confused because they are so smart. And so I see that they just weren't prepared. And they'll tell me things like, well, at my school district, I would never read a full book. So that also denotes not being prepared by the school. And I've also experienced myself. Like, for example, I did get a really good ACT score, but I only got an average MCAT score for the school that I got into. And once I got to med school, I actually learned that I hadn't learned how to study. And I learned how to study because I just had to step up my game to make it. And once I learned that, I actually ended up being at the top end of the scores. So it's all about giving someone an opportunity that has the potential. So all of this fighting us that, oh, you don't have the score, so you don't deserve it, there's a lot more to that story. And I do understand that some people feel like their kids are not getting the opportunities even though they have high scores. So we need to balance all of that. Two things can be true. It can be true that we have students that have low scores that do have the potential and can make it. And then there are some other students that have very high scores and have a really prepared background that maybe aren't getting the opportunity that they should either. So we got to figure that out.
Right. And then the big, beautiful bill is set to limit the amount of federal loans.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's a big problem. I have met people that limited themselves because they were afraid of what would happen to them financially if they went to med school. And that was when there were no limits. I remember there was someone in my college that was extremely smart, better science student than me. Science is my worst subject, honestly. And she said she didn't want to go to medical school because she was afraid of the debt. So imagine now. So now the big, beautiful bill is implementing a law that limits the amount of graduate loans you can get. So there's probably going to be a gap for a lot of students. So in order for them to fully afford tuition and living expenses, they're going to have to find some other way, probably some high interest private loan. A lot of us don't have family money. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do? So that's going to be another thing that is a consideration. And it's probably going to make some kids who are perfectly capable of being doctors, of being lawyers, it's going to make them think again and maybe choose a different career.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, we've spoken about how important this education is to you because it doesn't even mean a 4-year college.
Right.
It means the trades that we need in our area.
Yeah. So there are cuts that are happening to trade schools and community colleges as well. I absolutely believe that we need people doing trades. We need plumbers. We need electricians. We need truck drivers. But I want kids to have the opportunity to do whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
Like if they're capable of being a surgeon, I want them to have the scores and the preparation so that if they choose to be a surgeon, they can get into med school and get into surgery residency.
And we especially need more trades because of immigration policies.
Yeah, I think that's a consideration too. Like if we're losing immigrants who do a lot of these trades, construction, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, things like that, then yes, we're going to have to make up for that with our own, I guess, homegrown citizens, that kind of thing.
And what do you think the current representative, where does she stand in all this?
I think she doesn't care. I don't think she does anything. She either doesn't understand or doesn't want to understand the issues. She's not fighting for us at all. I don't see her fighting for us on the education front. I don't see her fighting for us when Trump is essentially discriminating against a lot of people in the district.
We also read that the current representative is teaching kids that communism is bad. They're teaching about talking points and really nothing that's of essence to education.
Right. So if she's done anything for education, it's to focus on MAGA talking points. So she did support bills to make sure that kids learn that communism is bad. but she's not supporting bills so that kids can actually be prepared for college, for medical school, for law school. So that tells you where her priorities are.
I think more importantly, I would like everybody to know about your plan when new policies in education come up.
Yeah. So my plan is to talk directly to the people. So if there's a bill that comes up that involves education, I'm going to call up the teachers that I know in the district to see what we need to do. And I also need to continue to collaborate with teachers throughout my entire term to find out if there are bills I need to write or champion in order to improve education.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
So I'm very much a collaborator. I try to be as accessible as possible, and I'll continue to do that because the only way to really do things is to talk to the people directly who know how to deal with these issues.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think that really wraps it up for this week.
Fun times.
Fun times. Well, thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, and visit drcuellarforcongress.com and donate so we can have an awesome campaign.
All right, bye.
Bye.